Hey everybody, Steve Ball here, and you're watching the Cars and Chrome channel. Today in this video I'm going to show you how to replace your window felts on the door panel. Those would be the inside window felts. You also have window felts on the outside, and those attached to the door shell. The inside ones attached to the door panel. So I'll show you today. Most of you know how to take these door panels off already. If you don't, I'll go over that real quick. We'll get these door panels off and get to replacing the window strips, which are stapled on by the factory that manufactures the door panels. And with a little bit of patience and some basic tools, we'll get these replaced. So let's get started. All right, we're going to start by taking off the doorknob, the door lock knob, I believe it is. Unscrew that real quick. All right, next up we're going to get the window crank handles off. This tool really comes in handy. You can pick up these pretty much at any auto parts store or online for about 10 bucks. That'll remove your little window crank clip. And I'll show you once I get this off. So if these clips were put on correctly, these should come off. You should insert the tool from the crank, from the knob side, not from this side. I'll show you that once I get it off. So you want to slip that between the plastic gasket and the knob itself, the crank handle, and just go right in there. That should do it. Bingo. There's the little clip. Get that in the camera, that little clip right there. So you do need to put that on from this side. You can see those two little ribs right there and there. You need to insert that when you go to put them back on. You don't want to put it in from the bottom. You want to put it in from this side, and then when you remove them, you always put your tool in from the window crank side. And that goes in that little slot. You get it in the camera there. That goes in that little slot. You go right up against the handle and just push, and it pushes that right out. Let's get the other one. Of course, it's probably going to give me some trouble. I hope I didn't put it. I hope I didn't put it on the other way. If so, I'll turn the tool around to the other side. There we go. It sounded good. There we go. And the clip stays retained onto there. So, okay, next up we're going to get this armrest base off. And it's got 3 screws. One in the back, one in the front, and one right under there. Should be a Phillips head screw if they haven't been replaced. Looks like somebody had replaced that one screw with a flathead, so swap out my bit real quick and get that off. I may have replaced that myself, I'm not sure. At some point, I've had this car for 35 years or so, you never know. All right, so the base is off. Got my three screws out. Get this off. You can just pop that clip off, I think, with your fingers. Get the door handle on. There we go. Pop that off. Stow that back where it belongs so you don't lose it. All right, next up is to get these 4 clips. They attach to the cardboard door panel and they pop in a little hole in the back. Most of you, I'm sure, are aware of that already. I use this little play knife So try not to tear the clips out of the cardboard. You'll see what I mean when I get it off. I'll start at the bottom. Get in there. And carefully, not to scratch your paint right there. You don't want to chip up your paint. You can try to pull. I think when I was young, I used to just pull these off. I probably ruined a few, so I've learned that you need to give it some extra support in there and just kind of pop it out with this putty knife. I don't want to get in the way of the camera there. Just pop those right out. 1, 2, maybe there's 3 per side. I don't recall. Yeah, I think just 3. There we go. Show you what those look like real quick. So, right there, they just go in that little hole right there. And I'll show you when I get that off how they go in the cardboard. That's why you don't want to just pull it by the cardboard. You can rip them right out of there and damage your door panel. I ruined one on the other side, on the driver's side when I did it, but I was able to repair it with some wood glue and let it set up, and it's just as good as it ever was. So let's move on. Okay, so I just removed the front clips, and it looks like I'm missing one of the top ones, so I do have extras, so I'll get that one replaced. And this is pretty much ready to come off. One thing you have to be mindful of and careful with is this area right here, because as you lift this up, as this comes up, this metal trim piece can and will scratch this door frame right there. So I got a little piece of leather that I lay there for protection. Let's get this panel off. Okay, so what I have here, I just have this little piece of leather scrap, and I put that right up in here in the door frame. Make sure you guys can see that. Yeah, you see that. So it's right up in there just to protect that when it comes out. I'm going to start by lifting it up just a little. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think you want to push these forward, grab it by the panel, and slide it forward. And it moved about maybe 1/8 of an inch until it's all the way forward, because that's going to give you the room you need to get this end out of here. Now, if I'm doing it wrong, somebody leave in the comments how they take them out. But that's how I get them out. If you don't move it forward, it's going to be too tight up against this door jamb right here. Let's see if we're all the way forward. Yep, we're all the way. So I'm going to put this protective leather piece here. Maybe I can zip tie that on there real quick so it stays. Why don't I do that? Okay, I got that leather piece tied on there with a zip tie so it doesn't go anywhere. I'm going to lift this up over this door lock rod. And you can see it's already hitting right there. So this is kind of hung on to the door frame in there with a few little, I wouldn't say they're clips, but they're part of the panel piece here, and they're hung on there. This is never easy. You're going to see this in real time. There we go. Just jar it up real quick. Snap it loose from these little hangers that are right there. Get it up over the rod. Maybe I should head that down all the way in the lock position. I think I can clear it. Maybe. Okay, we're clear of the frame. it's got to unclip it in the front here. Maybe go back a little bit. And this one's wanting to be a little B, or biatch. I think it's hung up. There's a hanger right here, and I think that's where it's giving me a effing problem there. There we go. All right, so I just had to lift it right here instead of all here and here. It'll lift it right there, and it came right out. So up and over that rod for the door lock, bam. Voila, there we go. So it turns out that this channel, you got the sheet metal of this upper panel that grabs right here. It all lays down right here, across here, and this little tab here, the front part of it hangs right behind that. Can you see that? I hope so. It goes right behind that, and I think it hangs behind there too. And you do have one spring, one window crank spring right there. Not sure if there's supposed to be, that's for the vent window. I'm not sure if there's supposed to be one for the bottom, for the main door window or not, but there's not one here. Alrighty, we're gonna get started here, taking these window felts off, getting the staples taken out of there. Before I do that, I'm gonna show you these door panel clips, if you're not familiar with them. They're just hung onto the cardboard. And it's just a little clip like so. And it goes in that, excuse me, it goes in that little slot right there. It's all just cardboard. And if you start yanking these, it slides right in there like so. And if you start yanking these door panels off, you'll rip this whole area right out. You'll pull all that out. And I had to glue one back together on the driver's side. So that's why I use the tool, the putty knife, to get in here and pry this away from the door so it doesn't tear out. Word of caution. All right, so we got 6 staples in the original one. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 down at the end. They only give you 5 staples in the kit per side, and they only have 4 holes drilled in these pre-drilled holes, which I'm not going to use them all. I'm only going to use, because I need a staple at the end. There's no pre-drilled holes. I'll be drilling those, and there's none at this end either. That's where you want a staple. You want a staple down here, and then 3 across the middle. Okay, before you take this strip off your window felt, you want to make a note of how far back this trim piece is right here. You want to make a note, you want a reference point there. So it's pretty much, if you were to put a straight edge on that, it's just right there, just right like that. So let's flip this around. Across here we got 6 staples, and these are the tools I'm going to use right here. Some needle nose, nice thin tip screwdriver. I got a little pick tool, little whatever you want to call that thing, and another real small screwdriver for prying those staples out of there. So bring that camera back here. Where's our first staple at? It's tucked right there, and right there. So, and they got this. This one's a little more difficult, a little more difficult than the first one I was working on the other side. Okay, so back to this one. This is going to be a little tricky because the the door panel material, they got a lot of extra there and it's kind of covering that. I guess I could cut that off and trim it, but I'm going to try not to do that. If you can see the staple right back there, it's a little tricky, so I'm going to use this little screwdriver and get it in there and just twist that and bend that staple up just enough so I get it with the needle nose, and then get the other prong there, maybe. Try to get this little pick tool in there. There we go. Get the screwdriver back in there. Twist that. Needle nose. Bend that out. Grab that. Bend that out. And then come back over here. Underneath there, you can see the staple. Right there, you got to get that out. Get this light out of here. Get that little screwdriver in there. Pry that out of there. How about the bigger one? Grab it with the needle nose. And there's one staple there. Okay, we got another staple right here. You just want to get your screwdriver in there like before. Pry those out. Get your needle nose. Get those fairly straight. Okay, come back to the front side. And get that out of there a little bit. Pry that up. Grab it with your needle nose. Just rip it out of there. All right, that's 2. I got 4 more to go, so I'll get those out of there. Okay, before we install these felt strips, window felts, whatever you want to call them, we got to cut a little notch out of the felt, the rubber piece. As you can see, this one does the one I took off. It's got that notch cut out. That'll clear the vent window. So you just line it up, cut that notch out in the same spot. All right. I've got that trim piece of the felt, the chrome there, lined up just with the edge of that door panel right there. That's where you want it. Okay, so let's start getting some staples in here. We got to get one in anyways to keep this thing from moving around. So this piece came with 4 pre-punched holes. One there, there, and there. But you really want them, you want one at the end, like the factory. You don't want that end flopping around. So you want one over here at this end, and you want one at that end. They only give you 5 staples. So I'm going to end up putting one at the end here. Not all the way at the end, but right there. Because there's factory holes in that from the original one, but I'm not going to be able to line those up. So I'll just come over here and stick them right about there. I'll put a staple there. I'll do there in those pre-made holes, and I'll come over and catch that pre-made hole. And then I'll come over to the end. I'm going to put one in this end, and then I'm going to put one in between those pre-made holes there. I'll put one there. So let's get started. Make sure you get this lined up right where you want that. Right about like so. And then this chrome bead here, you don't want that too low, you don't want it too high, just where it was when you pulled it off. And that feels right about where it needs to be. And you only got one shot at this, so you gotta make sure it's right. That feels about right. Okay, so what I've decided to do is, instead of inserting a staple into these holes and making a mark, I'm just going to hit this real quick and make a mark with this drill where I want it. And right there. Take this off. Now I got two marks. Go ahead and take your drill. And drill, baby, drill. Bit seems a little dull. Okay. Okay, one thing I want to point out is that we're not going to be using any of these pre-drilled holes in the door panel. You got like 6 of them, I think, in here. They're all along here. There's no way that I know of that you'll be able to line this up and catch those holes. There's no way to do it. So don't worry about utilizing these pre-made holes from the original staples. You're just going to utilize some of these holes, and then you're going to make your own. You're just going to drill right through into the door panel, make new holes. That's the easiest way that I know of to do it. So now that we got this hole here drilled, you can catch the pre-drilled holes that are in here. Stick your staple in there. Poke that through and insert it into the holes you just made. So now you have one staple in there to keep this aligned where you need it as you work your way across. Okay, so you can see we got the staple poking out through the back, and you want to press it tight with your thumb in the front. You don't want these staples loose at all. That's the problem. You want them nice and tight, otherwise this thing's going to be flopping around. So grab it with your needle nose out from the metal just a little bit and bring that over. But as I did that, the other side wanted to come back in. So go back to the other side and twist that one over a little. Come back over here and twist that one. What you need to do is you need to secure this staple so it's not rocking back and forth every time you try to bend one of those legs of the staple. So what I got here is my Allen wrench, and you want to put the flat spot of your Allen wrench right across the head of that staple. And secure that with some vice grips without damaging the strip. Get that adjusted just right. Okay, and go back to with your pliers. And start bending those legs over. Just got to take your time. I'm going to try to get one leg at a time. You know, I did the driver's side door panel a couple weeks ago, and I don't remember the exact process. So you're seeing it in live time here, for the most part, with minimal editing. Let's see here. I think I use these other pliers. It's a regular pair of pliers. Fold that over. Okay, there's one. I'm going to get my needle nose back in there. Fold that over a little bit. Back with the pliers. Just watch that rubber felt. You can do it, just got to be careful. Fold that over. And I'm going to take these off. I'm going to look at it, see how tight that is. All right. So I got to bend those legs over just a little bit more, as you can see, but back there, you can see they're pretty good. They're not bad. I just want to bend them down just a little bit more. At least that one side anyways. So I'm going to put this Allen wrench back on there on the head of the staple and secure that carefully. And then I'm going to take my other plier, my regular pliers again, and just come in there, open those up to the big slot there, and squeeze against the leg of that staple and the Allen wrench, and that bent it right over, I think. We'll see. That looks pretty good. Can you see that? So that's bent over pretty good. And I'll check it and see if it's secure, and then I'm going to move on to the next hole. I'm going to line this up again, make sure this is right where I want it. As far as being too high or too low, what's that? Nothing. Scuff. A little scuff somehow. I scuffed it. That looks good. Just go by feel. And I'm going to go ahead and put some more holes in this thing. So I'm going to go right through the pre-drilled holes into the door panel. What the hell? I can't do that. Okay, we ran into a little snag here. These pre-drilled holes, that are in this new piece, I was going to utilize those holes and drill right into this steel panel of the door panel. But as you can see, I'll show you in the mirror. Can you see that there? Right there, there's a hole, there's a slot cut in there. So if I drill into that panel, I'm just drilling right into that empty hole. So that's not going to work out. They put a hole in there for some reason or another. So I'm going to have to come over here and stick this staple right about there. I don't want to go way down here because that's where the original staple was, and I don't want to get it involved with those holes. So I'm going to come over just a little bit and pop one in, I believe right there. Let me see if I can take a look. Hold that, would you? Yeah, right there. So I'm going to have to come right about over here. I can feel that staple hole right there. I have to come right about there. Get this lined up. Measure 50 times, drill once. So I'm just feeling that to see where, if it's too high or too low. It feels right about right there. And I'm going to drill, baby drill, right there. Okay. That's good. Now I gotta make a mark where that other hole is gonna be. So I'm just gonna press that into the rubber right there. Make a little indentation. You can see right there. Okay, so go ahead and get in there. All right, so we got this other staple in there. You can see there, I got the prongs sticking out the other side. It needs to go deeper, so I'm just going to take my Allen wrench and jam it on the head here and stick that in as far as I can. You really want these tight. Probably have to compress it with the vice grips. Get that staple in there nice and deep. Try grabbing it with the needle nose, see if I can pull it out and around. Bend that leg over. And you can't really see. Just slowly bend both of these a little bit. Pull that through with the needle nose. Can you see that? I'm going to check down here again on the head, and that's not deep enough. That definitely needs to, let me come back up. That staple needs to go in further. I'll see if I can pull it as I bend and pull with the needle nose and twist this and see if I can yank that in. There it goes. All right. I need to get this clamped on there again. Definitely need to clamp that on to get this tight. So you gotta use something. I'm using an Allen wrench. You can use whatever you want, but you gotta get the head of that staple tight. So I'm just using an Allen wrench and squeezing it on with vice grips to bury that head into the trim piece so I can bend the legs. And it's not easy, but you know the saying, there's a will, there's a way. Just gotta be careful, you don't damage your trim. And this is not easy. Damn, vice grip's too loose. There we go. Now I can get in there. Can you see that? You can't. You're on the wrong side. Got to get in here and so anyways, I'm going to get in here and bend these over with the needle nose pliers. It's not easy, like I was saying. You just got to make sure you got pressure on this side of the staple, and get in there with your needle nose and just pull and twist those around. And then once they're bent most of the way, you can come back in with your pliers with these, and carefully, without damaging this new piece, because that's flexible, so you can get in there, use a Allen wrench to work against, and get in there and squeeze those. But it's just too hard to see on camera, so we're going to cut it now. Hopefully this video, well, I won't say that because I'll show you the finished product, but hopefully this is going to help you out on how to get these staples in. Okay, so I got one staple in right there. And like I said, you can't go right here where the pre-drilled holes are because they got a cutout in the back, and that happens to be right where that is. So when I say a cutout on that, I mean the door panel itself on the sheet metal. So if you put a staple there, it would be going into a big old opening, so that wouldn't hold at all. So I got one there, one there, and as you can see how this is bowed? See that? You gotta force it over to be straight. So when they manufactured these, they weren't the proper contour, or the piece was bowed itself. I think this is a true and straight top edge of the door panel. And for some reason this piece is bowed. So now that I got a staple in there and there, I'm just going to work my way down. I think what I'm going to do is catch this hole, this set of holes here that's pre-made. I'm going to skip that one. That's pre-drilled. So I'll put one there. So I'm just going to have to pull this down like so. Pull it down, drill my holes, put that in, and then it'll stay. And then I can get the end. You definitely want one at the ends. So let me get those in. Okay, I'm getting ready to put in this last staple at this end, and like I stated before, there are some not pre-drilled, but there are some holes in the back of this door panel sheet metal from the original staple that was holding down the original felt trim piece. So you don't want to put your staple in those holes. Well, for one, you're not going to be able to find them, so you got to make new holes. So just make one hole. And then what you're going to try to do is straddle. There's a hole back here and here somewhere. you want to straddle those holes. So I got one hole I drilled right there, and then I'm just going to put the staple here, make a mark, and then drill. And the other holes underneath are like going to be in between. So you want to avoid getting too close to those other holes. Okay, I find it pretty easy to grab these staples with a pair of pliers when you're putting them through the holes you made, especially if they're drill bits, just about the same size as these staples, which I'll put that in the description, which drill bit I used with these staples that came with the kit. Just have to pull it back a little bit so you can see what's going on. Get it through. There we go. Okay, so there's the finished product. It's just barely above the door panel. That's what that looks like. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to come around to this side. See how you see all those staples? The factory put black staples in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a permanent marker pen. I'm going to go over the heads of those, and you won't even barely be able to see them. So I'm going to take a Sharpie marker and just mark the hell out of that thing. Or you could use some model paint, I guess. But since you're not going to be able to really see these, see, there's one without, one with. It just kind of blends in a little better. So I'm going to finish up with these and get this door panel back on. And there's the finished product on the back side. Can't even hardly see those staples. That's the way it should be. All right, let's get this door panel hung back on. And I'm going to try, since it came off so easy pulling it up from the front, I'm going to set the back, or maybe I'll set the front. Let's see. Let's see how that works out. Let's set the front. Maybe not. Let's get in the back. Hook it over the door lock. I see a problem already. Maybe not. Let's see here. You know that notch that I cut out in the in that new piece? It's got to clear this, that little notch. I might have to take some more out. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it. Looks like about an eighth of an inch. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, right there where I notched that out. I got to notch out about another eighth of an inch right there, so it clears that. Okay, so the trick to getting these panels on, see that little right there? I got this thing in my hand. Let me set this down. This right here. So the edge of the door panel has to come up and hang over behind that. It's got to go back here, behind that, and it's got to go behind that. And then it also hangs behind here too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the front. I'm going to hook this, but leave the door panel out a little bit over here on this side. I'm not going to have it all the way in, and then I'm just going to hook that behind there and there. I'm just going to kind of push it here this way, the panel, and then I'm going to hook that. Once that's hooked and that's hooked, then I'm going to bring this in and it'll just plop right in place. Okay, what I ended up doing, I did not hook it over the door lock through here. I didn't put this side in at all. This side's still out. as you can see, it's still out. I worked over here and hooked the panel back there, and then on that other tab I showed you right there, I just pushed it in, hooked it, dropped it down, and now I'm gonna hook this, push this back and down. Okay, I got that on. Now it's just a matter of lining up your clips that we showed you earlier. Those go right in those holes. Pop those in, and those. All right, I got the 6 clips pressed in the holes. I'm just going to come down here, put the screws in the bottom panel, and I'm going to put the armrest base back on, and then I'm going to crank the window all the way up. Make sure your vent window's closed. Put your window all the way up, and then put your handles, pop those back on in the position that you want them. I prefer mine hanging down. I believe that's how I have mine on the other side. So I'm going to have this handle hanging down and hanging down, I believe. And when you put on your armrest base, before you screw that on, make sure you put your door latch back on. Put your door handle back on right there, and then put your armrest on. And there it is. There's the finished piece. And that's where we had to notch that rubber right there. Right there. Otherwise, that piece would go all the way over there and interfere with this vertical run. So you got to notch that out right there. Pretty nice. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Hope this helped you out.